Very much, Mark.
Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
And now, with a great round of appreciation from our souls, we welcome Alex from Canada. I think he's ready to go. He was putting some final touches on his presentation for today. And let's have him share his screen. Let me bring these down. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Mernez.
Just have to do some video adjustments here.
No problem. This is the reason everyone has come to this meeting. Well, one of the reasons, let's say, is to hear your beautiful understanding of the technology.
How do we do now?
We see your screen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just one more adjustment, please.
Take your time. We have all the existence in the universe, so we're not bound so much by time. I think we're coming to realize that more and more as the time goes on. And of course,
welcome everybody.
Yeah.
We're trying to better understand the teachings of Marin Kesh, and I want to welcome everybody from the North American community for spending their valuable Sunday afternoon in participating in these classes. And we need to welcome the other members from all around the world who make this such an outstanding success. And it is a success. This is the Kesh Foundation Spaceship Institute, teaching in plasma science. We're into the basic outer space discussions. Today's topic is overlapping fields. My name is Alexander. I am from Canada. It is September the 18th, 2022. And this is the Kesh Foundation North America Plasma Education Series. We have, we're coming close to 2 years on this path here, and we're still doing basic stuff. And we started with basic teaching in Brazil, and we got into basic understanding, basic knowing, basic insight, basic earth space, basic inner space. And now we're trying to find this basic outer space. And last week we had to call the wild, and we never did figure out who was calling. And when we look at book number 1 with the universal order of creation of matters, we find that that's very important to us in our little tiny perfect world, which is that little tiny red dot in the bottom right hand corner. And when we compare that to the rest of the universe, it really is humbling how much we know or how little we know. It depends on your point of view. And we brought in the two other books, The Structure of Light and The Origin of the Universe. And so these are all trying to help us to connect our soul to the source. And in the process, as we're searching for outer space, because we all want that piece of the pie. And we know it's out there. It's somewhere in the sky. And what is this phantom pie that we keep striving for? And so the definition of phantom is something that's apparent to the sense, but with no substantial existence. So there is an existence, but when we say substantial, the reference is to physical. And when we say apparent, that means it's not physical. And in our school, that is a plasmatic reference. And so when we're looking at our reference points, and we always have to make sure that we understand that there are reference points, we look in the sky and we see all these stars. And one star in particular is very, very bright. And that star has a name, and that name is Sun. And that Sun has a space of reference. We call it the sun space. And within that sun space, we have all these planets. And so each of these planets have their own space. And that space is basically positioned by creating boundaries with other planets. So Earth is kind of positioned between Venus and Mars. And so that's our little pie in the sky. And we have a very strong sentimental attachment to that. But we have an even more sentimental attachment to our physical bodies, because that's part of our man space. And then so what we see that within our man space, we have souls, we have emotions, so we have physicality. And we have to understand that all of this is present within the physicality of the earth. And so what we're trying to figure out is the positioning of our soul. And so we find that we have two souls. And so one soul is very much tied to our physical body. And we have another soul that is very tied to our physical brain. And there is a connection between both to the physicality, and that is the emotion. But we find that the mind emotion is a little bit different from the physical emotion. Insofar as, first of all, the mind emotion is not really visible at all. But we find that the GANS, which is physical, has an affinity to the plasmatic fields of emotion. And so the GANS has this duality where it actually is physical, but it also has an emotion. And so it's kind of transcending these various dimensions. And then we try and figure out what's our position with regard to this. And so we have to really always keep in mind the relationship of the sun to the earth. So when we look at this, we see that actually the soul of the man is far stronger than the soul of the body in terms of field strength. But the soul of the man is within the body. And we are all independent with respect to other beings on this planet. And so we're all kind of structured the same way, but we're all independent. And yet we are all on a common ground, and that common ground is the earth. And the interaction between our field and the earth field is what we call inertia. And so we trust that, don't we? Because we get up in the morning, and on most days the sun is shining, but even when the clouds are out, we still see that there's daylight. So we know the sun is back there. And we trust that when we go to sleep, that we'll wake up in the morning within our body. And so this trust is becoming very, very important, because one of the things that we trust, most of us trust ourselves. Most of us trust the universe, but trusting other people is really, really hard. And so when we look at these comparative relationships, we see that our man's universe is actually a smaller universe with relationship to our sister universe. And it kind of is comparative to the relationship of the earth to the sun. And of course, you notice that the sun is kind of bright and the earth is not as bright. And then we see that we have a comparative relationship to the soul of the man and the soul of the body. But they work in unison. And so all of this works in unison. Our body works in unison, the earth works in unison, and our universe works in unison. And so that becomes the gravitational core component, which we call a neutron. And so that is the amalgamation of the three matters of matter, dark matter and antimatter. And they come together to create a maggrav field. But from there, they create two other fields, which we call the creation of as the fundamental principle of the twinity, like our universe and our sister universe. But there is a difference, as we can see. There's a significant difference in the size, where the electron is 1,849 times smaller than the proton, but the combination of the two create what we call is the atom. And of course, the atom, in the original meaning of atom, is uncut. And obviously, we have tried to cut it into electrons and protons and matter and all sorts of things. But what we see is that there is a field strength, and the electron has a magnetical field which is transferred from a larger magnetical field of the proton. And we find that that transfer of energy also is composed of the matter, dark matter, and antimatter. But because there's a transfer of energy, that energy is magnetical. And so I'm sure you can see the difference between the two extremes, the gravitational neutron and the magnetical ray. And so we see when we created the twin cups, we had one cup feeding another cup, and then a feedback from the first cup back to from the second cup to the first cup, excuse me. And they're twin cups, but how does that work? And so as we're trying to figure this out, we find that this is an extension of our understanding of the twinity. So the neutron is a fundamental plasma, but the electron-proton combination is another plasma. And in the process of decay, there's a decay process which releases the PM ticks, which are another plasma. And so we find that we differentiate these plasmas by having different reference points. And so one point is the creation of the PM ticks, and another point is the launching of the emission of the energies, and another is the landing field, which represents the absorption of these energies. And all of these energy transactions are done at light speed, but we didn't say which speed of light. And so we didn't say which field. whether it's a launch field or a landing field. We didn't say which one. And in fact, we didn't say which PM ticks either, because we have a lot of variety. But what we are saying is that there is a significant difference between the plasmatic spectrum and the physicality spectrum. But there's a connection. And so that connection somehow is within the inner space. We call that the covalent bond, but we're looking for outer space, aren't we? We've graduated from inner space. We're looking for outer space because we see the energy in the universe travels as a PM tick, which is actually a feeding pack. But not all feeding packs are the same. In fact, each and every one of them is unique. And you say, well, if they come from the same source, shouldn't they be the same? So technically that's correct. But they all depart at a different moment. And we'll say a moment in time, but perhaps more accurately, one could say at a moment in positioning. And so we're only doing the basics at this point. And so we understand that the spice of life is created through this variety. And actually that energy is manifested to the aminogen of our atmosphere and then manifested to the physicality, which is really a representation of the dream energy of the spirit and the default of the soul, the default energy of the soul. And so in plasma science, we have a magnetical gravitational relationship. And so it has to be asymmetric. In other words, one has to be of a different field strength than another. And so if we look across the picture from the left to the right, we see a transmission from the gravitational to the magnetical. But if we look at from the top down, the transitional exchange of energy is from the gravitational to the magnetical. Well, didn't we just say that? And then from the interaction of these two field forces, we create another PM text release. And that too is magnetical, but it goes through a gravitational field, which we call a maggrav, which is a combination of all of these various matters. And so we have to have 2 points when we're discussing things. And what we do is we add a second point and connect once. But that doesn't tell us which way we go. And when we look at where we start and where we end, well, they're both magravs. And so there are some things that we have to figure out. And so one of those things we have to figure out is how do we go through from one field to another? Because there's a gate in between. And so how do we unlock that gate? And so we find that the emotional energy contributes to that. So this emotional energy has to be manifested. And so that energy is manifested the same way as the physicality is manifested, insofar as there's a launching field and there's a landing field. But how do you know which way is which? And then we find that to unlock the gateway, we have an inner space, which is our spirit. What we find within our spirit is we have our soul. And so our spirit is part of inner space. And so if our soul is within our spirit space, then that's a deeper inner space. And so if our soul is in the inner space of the spirit inner space, then the earth body must also have an inner space. And where is that inner space? And the lack of understanding of this relationship is why we're having trouble having peace and prosperity on earth. Because some people want to debate about the merits of war and poverty. So what we don't understand is that in the plasma feeding, the higher strength feeds the weaker strength. And so what we have to determine is which is the higher strength. And so the higher strength is the gravitational field. And we found that when two fields come together and we create these PM ticks, that the PM ticks are a maggrav of energy in motion. And where do they go? Well, they go to another field, which is a combination of two fields and has the PM ticks of energy in motion, another maggrav. And that's the way our souls function. And that's the way the relationship with the sun and the earth function. And we have to take this into account. We can't just take into account our own physicality because we're sharing our environment with our earth. And so the question then becomes is, how is the earth functioning? And so the earth has to take into account the sun. So that therefore we have to increase our schemes of reference. And then when we understand that our relationship and the earth's relationship creates a condition. And so that becomes another maggrav, a maggrav condition, which is a combination of the reference from earth space to man space. But earth space also has to have a relationship with the sun space. And so we find that somehow we are gravitating to all of these places, but we don't have enough energy that's coming together. And so something's missing. So it brings up more questions. And as we're trying to answer a lot of questions, it's frustrating to ask even more questions. But I guess it's the questions that we have to ask and the type of questions we have to ask. So let's do a comparative analysis. Let's say we all know what differentiation is. And so if we look at the comparison and say, if we have the same environment, how do we get different species within that same environment? Shouldn't they all be the same? And so what they represent is the uniqueness of the PM ticks, the energy packs traveling through the universe. But there's a commonality, you see, because first of all of these are in Earth space. And what are all of these? Well, let's just keep things simple. And so there's us, man space, and we see that they're vertical people space, and they're sharing the same space. And then there are also horizontal people, and you can't see the critters running around because the vertical people are providing cover for them. But you know they're there. You can hear them. You can hear them scampering. You can hear the birds cackling, and all of these are fields. And because they're all within the Earth space field, the only way that these fields can exist is by overlapping. But they're individual. they're unique, and there's a lot of variety. I mean, a lot. And how do we know that it's a lot? Well, when you look at another planet, you can clearly see that if you were to say which one of these is heaven, we would say, well, Earth is heaven, because look at the variety. So what we're saying is, if we were to change our environment, would we have the same species? And so that question really pertains to, if we change the environment from Earth to Mars, or if we change the environment from Earth to the sun. But what happens if we just change the environment on Earth? And we could clearly see that the man space and the vertical people space and the horizontal people space all remain the same. In other words, you can take a man from the northern hemisphere to the southern hemisphere and he will still be a man. And you can bring a plant in from China to North America and it would still be that same plant. So just changing the environment does not change the species. And so that doesn't account for differentiation. We talked earlier about transmogrification. So in other words, we keep the same environment and we keep the same species. But we can see that bloodworms turn to mosquitoes. Are bloodworms mosquitoes? Are mosquitoes bloodworms? Well, yes, they are. They're the same species. And they're in the same environment. But they've changed. So have caterpillars. They've changed to butterflies. And tadpoles have changed to frogs. Was this so hard to understand? And so we call this transmogrification because it's a changing of the species within the same environment. But in reality, they are the same species. So if we look at the relationship of eggs and they become chickens or geese, and then embryos become humans. And when we talk about differentiation, that means when we wound ourselves in the physicality, the repair cells are called blastema cells because they're undifferentiated. So what they do is they enclose the wound. And then once the condition becomes normalized, then those same cells differentiate into cells. So that's how the body knows the difference between the nose and the toes. It would really be quite, well, shall we say comical if you had toes growing out of your nose. And so this differentiation of cells we call differentiation. We don't call it transmogrification. Well, what's the difference? It's the same environment, it's the same species. And so why am I going through this? Is saying, if we are going to change our environment and go into outer space, and let's say go from the Earth to the moon, which is going from Earth space to moon space, would we go through a transmogrification? In other words, would we differentiate into something else? And so we have to understand that we're not talking about transmutation. The transmutation is a totally different ballgame. The basic rule is that 1 + 1 is more than 2. We could see that because we still have the one and we still have the other. And then we have the combination of the two. This constitutes 2 feeding dimensions. And then we have 3 feedback dimensions. And that is, 1 feedback dimension is the byproduct of the first 2 feeding dimensions. And as it feeds back, then the first feeding dimensions become a feedback of the feedback. And we are none of those dimensions because we're the observers. So we're in another dimension. Well, which dimension is that? Could it be that we're in outer space? Well, we still haven't found outer space. What we do know is that our souls are in the inner space. And our souls are trying to position themselves. And so we have 2 physicalities. We have a brain and we have a body. And so we find that the heart is in the body and the brain is in the head, which is in the body. And then the soul of the body is in the body and the soul of the man is in the brain. And so we have the emotional connection. And so we find that the emotional connection of our body is feeding both physicalities, the physicality of the brain and the physicality of the body. And therefore there's a feedback. But not only. The soul of the body is also feeding. So we have a feeding from the soul of the body and the emotion. But not only. We have another emotion, a second emotion, a mental emotion. So we say, well, are you thinking with your head? You know, or are you thinking with your heart? They're both emotions. But not only. We have the soul of the man and the soul of the body, but they're all part of our inner space. So this is causing us some problems here because we have 2 souls, 2 emotions, and 2 physicalities, and we're still looking for outer space. All of these are within the inner space. And so we find that when we look at the plasma science, it's based on the plasmatic magnetical force fields of attraction and repulsion, which we call magnetical gravitational, part of the feeding and the feedback systems. And so when we look at the creation of the universe, we find that the universe exists from energy. And energy in motion has a charge and is always in motion. But the thing is, all things work in combination. So when we look at the cover of book number 1, not only is it book number 1, but on the cover is 1 maggrav. But within that maggrav are 3 field references, the antimatter, dark matter, and the matter. And whatever dimension it is, and we don't know which dimension it is, it only represents 1 dimension. And so we find that energy has to go across various dimensions in various directions. And so there's a sequence. And the thing about energy is that energy is always a charge in motion, where the charge indicates the direction of the motion. But the charge itself, the energy, is always positive. And all things work in combination. So in addition to the field forces of attraction and repulsion, we have to understand that we as man space have choices. And so we can turn on energy, and we can turn off energy. What we cannot do is not turn it on. And we cannot not turn it off. Because energy is always positive. So if you do not want to not turn on energy, then you have to turn it off. And that's part of the feeding system. And the feedback tells you if it's enough. And so if you want to change the strength, we can either increase it or decrease it. And another way to change the strength is to change the position. So the positioning also has a factor. And in respect to that positioning, you can either enhance the field force or you can diminish the field force. So we have choices. Okay, so this is a good thing. We have overlapping fields of the soul, the emotion, and the physicality. But that's not the way it works. That's the way we think it works on Earth. But in reality, our soul is the feeding field, and our physicality is the feedback field. So the combination of the souls feeds the combination of the brain-body physicality. And interestingly, the GANS is physical as well. So the GANS has this duality of being non-physical emotionally, but physically as a GANS medium. And so that becomes part of the feedback as well, to differentiate from the mental emotion, which is non-physical. Okay. But what we're missing is another feeding dimension. Because what we have here is an Earth space reference. We have to understand that this is an Earth space reference because we're in our Earth bodies, in our man space. And so our man space is physical. The location of our man space is Earth space. And the GANS that connects the emotion is also physical. So that's our Earth space reference. But somehow this is not really correct, because there's a soul of the man and the soul of the body, and we have two physicalities. So how does this refer to the Earth space? And so we find that when we put the cups of life together, we have two cups. And they create this space and a point in between somewhere, some nebulous point in between. And so we know what's outside of these cups, but that's not outer space, that's Earth space. And we know what's inside of these cups, that's inner space. So what we don't know is, well, where is outer space? And so when we look at the creation of the cups and we find that we create a magnetical and a gravitational field in cup number 1. And how we did that was with the copper coil and the zinc plate, and introduced the nano copper coil. And so we created this GANS, but we see that the GANS itself has the capability of creating another field within it, which is transparent. And so this is all part of our biosphere, where we have the glass, which is very solid. We have the water, which is very liquid. And then we have these gaps within the liquid where we have some GANs, which is very physical, and we have this hole in the GANs, which we don't know what that is. It's just some hole, and of course, though the water is in there, and so obviously there's an exchange of energy. And not only that, but we created other ganses. We had zinc GANs, copper GANs, CO2 GANs, calcium GANs, amino acid GANs, and water GANs. And so this becomes quite a dynamic construction. And then we created other cups. And by changing the zinc plate for a copper plate, we created a second cup. And we call one cup as an emotional cup and one cup as a physical cup. Well, they're both physical cups. So we now have another reference. And so we find that the GANs is also physical, but it has another reference as well. So it has emotional connection. And we know that the mind has an emotional connection. And we know that the mind is part of the physical brain. So we can see that there's a connection between the emotional cups and the physical cups. And then we also had the cup of inertia. And the cup of inertia is the interaction field of two other fields. And one of those fields was the cup of the earth. And then when we put the 5-cup system together, we can see that cup number 1 is the cup of the soul. Cup number 2 is the cup of emotion. Cup number 3 is the cup of physicality. Cup number 5 is the cup of the earth. And so we find that the cup of the inertia is a representation of cups 1, 2, and 3 in reference to cup 5. That's a 3 to 1. I think something's missing. And so what we find is that what we're looking at is basically our plasmatic manifestation, where we have a Magrav condition. But that Magrav condition radiates out. And as it radiates out, it also radiates back. So there's a feeding radiance and a feedback radiance. And so when we have a source and then we have a destination, then we have positioning between the inner space and the man space. And so is this radiance our outer space? Well, it's actually an extension of the inner space, isn't it? Because what we're really seeing is the man space point within a man space field. Well, if it's a man space field, that is not outer space. And if man space field is within the earth space, that is not outer space either. So when we look at the space room at our space center, and we see the different chairs, and we see there's a reason for going from the chairs because they all represent different field strengths. And so we find that these field strengths can overlap. And then from this overlapping of what we have, the field of physicality, the field of the inner space spirit, and the field of the inner space soul. And we can then go into our enhancement spaceships. And we can return. And so many have gone in safety and come back safely, because we have maintained the connection. And so we do the same thing when we go to sleep at night. We maintain the connection. And that connection is to our inner space, isn't it? And so it's kind of a flight simulation, isn't it? But we come back every morning after we go to sleep. We're not sure where we go, we can't remember, but we always want to come back to nature. So what we have to understand that we are nature and we are always connected. And so we find that our soul of the man has a larger field than the soul of the body. And we find that there is an interaction field around that also, the supergranular layer, which allows us to do other things. And mainly it has to do with the difference between the dynamic transfer state and the physical destination state. And so we've mastered that science because we can take people out of a coma in 30 days. So we find that these two fields, the soul of the man and the soul of the body, are basically part of inner space. But what we see is that the soul of the man is really the essential you. And the soul of the body, well, that's the surrogate you. Because the soul of the man is an interaction between the plasmagen states and the mattergen states, whereas the soul of the body is the interaction between the plasmagen state and the environment. We didn't say which plasmagen state, and we didn't say which environment. And so when we look at the comparison to the cup of the universe, we find that it's not all stacked up, but it's not only based on field strength, but it's also based on positioning within the field. And so the cup of the universe representing the soul of the man and the 5 cup stackers representing the soul of the body, they work together. And so when we put all the 5 cups together, we find that each and every cup has a magnetical gravitational field force, but each one has a soul in the middle. And so now we have a dilemma, because when we put all 5 cups together, the combination has a magnetical gravitational field and a soul in the middle. So is this the soul that connects to the other souls? Is this the soul of inner space within the other souls of inner space? Is this the inner space? And then we find that the first 3 cups, the cup of the soul, the cup of emotion, and the cup of physicality, represent man space. But in order for us to feed ourselves, we have to incorporate the earth space. And the interaction between our man space and the earth space is the force field of inertia. And so this is the basis of the new plasma feeding systems, which will assist in mitigating one of the worst problems on this planet, and that of starvation. But still something's missing. And so what we have to understand is, if this principal matter, which is the convergence of the PM ticks from around the universe coming together, and they create a plasmagen conversion, which is a combination of the principal matter, transition matter, and convergence matter, and that being a MAGRAV condition. But a MAGRAV condition somewhere, and where exactly is that? And Give me one moment, please. I need to adjust the screen.
Okay, I hope everyone is writing down a question or two to bring up after Alex finishes.
Hello, I'm back.
Great.
It seems like every time Zoom does an update, some setting gets changed. Anyway, getting back to the plasma rules, and I hope you're enjoying this trip, because what we see is that the energy states change by order of magnitude. So we said they can increase or decrease in terms of strength, and the higher strength feeds the lower strength. So those are the rules. But interestingly enough, in outer space, well, let's say within sun space, we see that it's kind of different. If on Earth space we increase, that's called creation, and if we decrease, that's called natural decay. But in terms of sun space, the sun is catalytic. It's a non-consuming. So it's always providing. And it helps in changing these energy states. And as we go into higher plasma states, these energy states change by many orders of magnitude. So the basic rules are that plasma can absorb these fields of energy, or plasma can be a barrier of fields of energy. But it cannot not give energy. The universe always gives energy, but the way it gives energy is bound to the ethos. And that's what we're striving for, to change the way we manifest things, and to understand that the plasma feeding always leads to a manifestation. But this manifestation could be non-tangible or tangible, non-visible or visible. But we now have to include the emotion of presence, because that emotion is also form artifact. And so any formation of any field is a manifestation. And so energy in motion always comes to a manifestation point. And so that point can be physical or can be plasmatic. And so when we look at the way we create emotions and motion, and the natural creation and the natural decay, and we find that it's always a two-way street, and there's a connection. So if it's a creation, there's a connection between the magnetical gravitational field force, and if it's a decay, another form of creation, there's a connection between the magnetical gravitational field force. And so there would have to be a bond between, and that is represented by a magnetical gravitational field force. And so what we're saying is that there is an overlapping factor where we have the physicality, which is the weakest force, overlapping an emotional force, which is a stronger force, overlapping a soul force, which is an even stronger force. And this only represents man space. And so we find that when we look at man space, we have to take into account Earth space. And so that earth space is overlapping man space, and that is called the overlapping field of inertia space. So something's missing. When we look at man space, we have two souls, two emotions, and two physicalities. And then on top of that, these two souls are like an inner space within another inner space. But when we look at the earth space, we only see one physicality. And then the connection, the interaction between the two spaces is only one inertia. And so there's a phantom field out there. We can't see it. We can sense it, but it has no substance. It's some nebulous field. And so when we look at the double rainbow and we see there's a field in between, we have to suggest, well, wait a second. Outside of the rainbow is still part of Earth space, and inside of the rainbow is still part of Earth space. And so is this space in between the inner space where we build our peace dome? Is this the inner space of the earth space? Except that it's not inside the earth, it's just inside the earth space. So is this the inner space of the earth space as a earth body? Is there another inner space? And we may become confused because we find that the earth keeps moving and the seasons keep changing. And if the seasons are changing, we can say the environment is changing. But, you know, we all seem to get here, all of us. Man space, vertical people space, horizontal people space, regardless of the seasons, you know. And if we talk about the seasons, well, we find that the vertical people, they kind of leave. The geese migrate, but the vertical people go to seed, and then those seeds sprout and become vertical people the next season. Do those seeds differentiate? No, because all the seeds are different. Do they go through transmogrification? So we see the soul sequencing is the soul of the sun plus the soul of the earth attracts the soul of man. From that, the soul of man plus the soul of the earth attracts the soul of the body. From that, the soul of the body plus the soul of the earth manifests the physicality of the body. So this pathway to manifestation interacts with the soul of the earth in all cases. This only makes sense, doesn't it? Because we are man space on earth space. And so the earth space, therefore, also has the soul of the earth body. And that soul of the earth body is within the earth space. So this is the environmental reference. Where is outer space? And where is the soul of the earth body? If the peace stone is the soul of the earth body, then what's the magma? Is the magma the soul of the earth body? Or is the magma the earth brain? So when we look at the soul of the earth relationships, we see that our relationship has a relationship with the soul of the earth. So the soul of our body has a relationship to the physicality of our body. So therefore, the soul of the earth has to have a relationship to the earth space. But since we have a soul of the body and a soul of the man, then the inner space is the soul of the earth body to the physicality of the earth space. So does that mean that the soul of the man is outer space? Except that the soul of the man is an inner space. And so this is where we're having trouble transcending the limitations of nuclear science, because we have to understand that life wants to live. Energy is always positive. And on the basis of that, we have to take into account other things. These phantom things of morality and compassion and courage. These are all part of creation. And so we find that our reference is based on our neighbors. And so when we understand that our reference is our neighbor's reference, then that's what we are. And that's where we keep throwing our garbage. We keep throwing our garbage to our neighbors. And this is the failure in our pursuit of happiness, because man has never launched a rocket into outer space. More questions. Do the Earth space rules apply to inner space or outer space? And so as we're trying to define plasma, we see that plasma is a kind of energy state. And so what's important is for us to understand our Earth space, finding our inner space. At the same time, we're still searching for outer space. And so we find that part of our inner space is our emotional energy manifestation, along with our physical energy manifestation. And we have the capability of motion. And so it's this emotion energy which is motivating our physical energy. And the way we do this can be through enhancement or diminishing. And so that's the difference between my binding and my launching, isn't it? And so we see when these forces come together, there's a universal method of self-enhancement, or there's an earthbound method that we choose for some reason of self-consumption. And it is self-consumption because it's the lowest energy state. And so why is the sun such a shining example? And so we ask ourselves, what kind of creation are we creating? And if we're stealing and feeding ourselves at the expense of others, this creates a binding of energy and it doesn't flow. And so we find that with the vision enhancement units, this is what we're trying to do to help people all around the world, and particularly the soldiers who are patriots and suffering from PTSD, to have an inner space emotion energy manifestation that defaults to their soul pathways, soul enhancement and spiritual enhancement, inner space and inner space. And so this is how we create the biosphere of peace. And we find that the call of the wild is actually normal, and the majority of us are normal. The universe is normal. The earth is simply seeking freedom and emancipation, and man's existence has reached a crisis point where we have to harvest the plasma energy of the plasma universe and understand that the peace dome is actually an earth space, inner space dome. the inner space of the soul of the earth body. And we are part of that field. We are overlapping that field. And so still we haven't found any proof of outer space, because our Earth space field is not moon space, because moon space is part of our Earth space. And Mars space, well, that's just another planet space. We are a planet space, and we're all part of the sun space. And there's all these points in between which we can see. And so they are all part of the in between space. And we find that we've really found our inner space, and now we've found the inner space of Earth space and all of these overlapping fields, but we never found outer space yet. And so this is the thing about advanced technology. Advanced technology is advanced. And the proof of this phantom reality is our preference and sentimentality. When we were born, our preference was Earth, and we are sentimental towards Earth. And we came using an outer space system. And we were born into the inner space of the Earth of the body. Are we halfway there? Is Earth space half the trip? Or are we now residents of Earth space, shareholders, and responsible? We are inherently peaceful. We have to cross this peace bridge. And this bridge will take us in to meet the rest of the universal community. And we owe a lot of gratitude to Neil Howe for bringing together all of these medallions and more that are still not seen, because this is where science meets the soul of the man for the purpose of peace. And that's what this is all about. We are in the post-June the 6th, 2022 era, where we can make choices between the manifestation point of Earth space and transparency point of inner space. And we're still looking for outer space. This is the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. Teachings on plasma science, and we're calling all Earth space patriots. There's a World Peace Treaty. Sign it. Sign it with your heart and sign it with your soul. See, because the Earth has overlapping fields of life. And there are no boundaries. This is what constitutes freedom. And so we find that it isn't just Earth, but the soul of the Earth body is also part of inner space. And so our earthbound physical and emotional transformation depends on the atmospheric emotional transformation of the Earth space. And this is how we transmute from the transparency point to the manifestation point, and beyond the nebulous point of the universal inner space of freedom, the universal refugium of the nebulous life of the universal community. And we find that the search for outer space is putting stress on the man-made boundaries of thought. So plasma science needs to be delivered in exchange for peace on Earth. Welcome to the outer space age. Thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoyed the trip.
Thank you, Alex. Did we actually go anywhere? As Mr. Keshe said, like in the units, you don't actually go anywhere, but you can be on the moon. So as we've said before, the soul is within the universe, but the universe is within the soul. It's a very interesting concept. And is there really an inner space or an outer space, or is it all one space in a way? It's just us who've limited ourselves by operating mostly in the physicality, although our soul is showing us something at night or when we go to sleep or when we daydream, perhaps, that there are other dimensions, and maybe that's its way of sort of hinting to us that there's more to this existence. Would someone like to ask a question? When you showed the twin cups early in the presentation, Alex. Oh, sorry. I think Salamia has opened up her mic.
Yes. Hi, Mark. Hi, Alex. I'd like just to say something about the universe which is in our soul. How comes? Soul expand and soul become as big as universe. Our field of the soul and this line of this field expand, and we become the unicos. So we are the unicos at the soul level. When we go out from our body, we just see our body and we realize that we are everything. We are the unicos. And we do this every night and every moment when we are in the vacuum, quantum vacuum, or in the principal fields of the principal star. There is a vacuum. And there, in the vacuum, we are out of time and space. We are out of waves. We are not a particle, we are not a wave. We are just a vacuum, which is not empty, is full of potentiality. So our soul has all potentialities of the universe and of the unicos. We are a big and we are a small universe at once. When we are awake, we have our consciousness awake. We are the small universe, and when we become the consciousness, the soul of the universe, so the consciousness is the second soul of the man, soul of man. We become the big universe, the big unicos. It's like a big toroid and a small toroid. And in difficult time, this small toroid become a big toroid, like a coat when we change this coat from inside outside. So we go from inside outside, and we become the bigger toroid, with the big toroid of the universe and of the unicos. And when we are small, we are inside our body. We are also a toroid, but a small toroid. And in special condition, we transmute for the small universe of man to the big universe of the world, of the entire cosmos, of the unicos, as Mr. Keshe taught us. This is my explanation. I apologize because I came late, but I was in Delta and now I am full of energy because my consciousness, my soul, just travel from this small unit of the soul. I expanded my fields and I became an unicos. And my energy now, full energy of the unicos, is on my soul now. I hope you understood me, and I hope you understood Alex. And thank you very much, Alex, for your nice explanation, your lovely, lovely lessons. Now I am in holidays, but I will start again to teach, and you inspire my soul. And I teach 47 lessons inspired by you, by Mr. Keshe, and from my own inspiration too. I give free of my soul for the humanity, for entire planet, and for entire unicos. Because this invisible world of 99% is full of souls. They are not visible for us, for our protein of our humane eye, but everything is full, and we can see this with the eyes of our soul. All these beautiful souls from the universe, which is not empty, is full of beautiful souls which are in peace. I hope that our planet will be in peace. And I wish, as soon as that the soul of Queen Elizabeth will help humanity to be in harmony. I mean the mission of a king and of a queen on the earth is to bring harmony. If it's not the case, king will disappear and queens, because they are not able to fulfill their mission on this earth. Each of us, we are the queen of our body. I mean, the queen is our soul, the king is our soul. So now it's time that we at the soul level will bring harmony on this earth, not only queens and kings, because we are our own kings and queens with the help of our powerful soul. Humanity, now you wait for the promised one, but the promised one is just each man, each human being. If we need peace, we bring peace inside of small universe. And how is inside is the same outside, because inside is a fractal and outside is the same fractal. Fractal means how is inside, the same is outside. If we need harmony outside, peace, we are able to create peace in ourselves. The soul of the queen be in peace outside, and hopefully will bring peace in all the leaders' soul, able to bring the peace on our beautiful, beautiful blue planet, full of beautiful souls, full of beauty. Beauty is a force of the universe, is the fifth force of the universe. By beauty and goodness, we charge our batteries. We become a force on this earth, on this world, which need the force of peace in order to create beauty and to create goodness at the soul level. The same is outside, the same is as it is inside ourselves. Much love to you, all knowledge seekers, members of Earth Council and Universal Council. Thank you very much for your beautiful, beautiful souls, which I feel. And thank you for your love, harmony, and peace spreaded all the time on this planet. I can feel it. I'm sure that the peace is in our hands, is in our souls, and will be on this planet in a sustainable way. Thank you, Mark. Much love to you. Thank you, Alex. Health, happiness, joy, and all the best to you and to your family and to all friends.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for adding to the knowledge, Solomia. It's nice to hear less guesswork and more understanding from Mr. Kesh that we can intelligently talk about the universe. I mean, there's so many science books out there and so many sort of different understandings. We don't know who to believe, but our soul has confirmed to us that what we're understanding and receiving from Mr. Kesh as a universal messengers, even though we don't understand it all, is really much closer than any of the knowledges we've understood in the past. So it's very beautiful as we hear knowledge seekers talk about their understanding of this. And of course, we're the captain of our own ship and no one else's. I know Mr. Kesh did give, I think, Solomia, it's at the end of the 450th workshop where he did make some comments about the Queen, and we do elevate her soul as well. And as well as the her former husband, or husband, Prince Philip.
I missed this 450 because finally I got my new heating system in my house, and I am so happy. And I was busy this day with this work, but tomorrow I'll listen. Thank you very much.
Now all we need is a guaranteed supply of energies, don't for your
Yeah.
new heating system. Gosh.
Yes,
It's-
maybe I have this system without gas, but anyway.
Good. Yes, we wish you warmth and no hunger for all of the Europeans, that's for sure. And of course, we have the technology on the table being offered to circumvent this potential human disaster that's lurking just in the few weeks and months ahead. So thank you for sharing, Salomia.
Pleasure. I am so happy to be with you. I missed you.
As I was saying, Alex, if we go back to your twin cups that you showed earlier, and you've showed these before, and I've noticed this before as well, they seem to have a reddish or pinkish. Is that because of the type of salt you added in there? I was thinking you were using the Himalayan salt, perhaps, or is it something else that happened that caused that sort of pink or beige sort of color in these cups? I've never made the twin cups. I've made the cup of man. But is that unique to yours, or was it the type of salt you put in there? Can you find that palette,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
plate there, that slide?
just
It looked like a color I haven't seen. I mean, basically, I haven't seen it in the GANs. And again, I haven't worked that extensively. Yes. Now, maybe it was the lighting or the
it's
background,
the
but
lighting.
okay, because it looked like Himalayan salt to me that was being used here.
No, it's definitely the lighting. And, it's, trust me, it's very white.
Okay. Okay, very good. Another question I had was, you know, we're going to be meeting our brothers and sisters from the universal community. I'm wondering, we know that the inertia and the cup of the earth, let's say, magnetical gravitational fields brings us to a certain creation. If we go to the moon, those fields create a different structure. If we go to Mars, we may have a different structure, and so on. Do you think the universal community was able to figure out, even though they're not on a planet, they're sort of roaming through the universe in a way, how were they able to maintain their, and I would think they would have wanted to keep the structure, whatever that was on their planet. How are they able to create these magnetical gravitational fields and inertia within the craft itself to maintain their structures? Just a question for thought, just trying to maybe get your thoughts on that, because they're not on a planet, so the planet is not really affecting it.
Well, Mark, first of all, you don't know that. Because you would have to see what they're like on their planet. And I don't know the answer to it as well, but what I do want to say is that we have multiple species on this planet. And so they came here and they manifested as something quite unique. And the question in my mind is, if a horizontal being is coming to Earth, is it specific to Earth only, or is it a reference point in conjunction with its soul? And I think what I demonstrated today is that each one is unique, but to extend that question and say, well, if, for instance, a bloodworm comes to this planet and then changes into a mosquito, the question is, why didn't the mosquito come to this planet? You know, we want to travel from here, let's say, to Mars, but we want to travel as a man. If we go to Mars, would we be different? So the field strength of Mars is going to make a difference. But the field strength of Mars is going to have to interact with the field strength of our soul. The combination of our soul with the Mars space is different from the combination of our soul and Earth space. And this is the point that I want to suggest. However, we have an anomaly here where a bloodworm can turn into a mosquito on Earth. And so the question then becomes, are we able to do the same thing? And obviously we were, because, one moment. Excuse me. We could go from embryos to humans. We can go from children to adults. When we go from children to adults, we're obviously little humans to big humans. But to go from an embryo to a human, well, that's kind of different, because in the first trimester, you can't tell the embryo of a man or a chicken. So at some point in time, it differentiates. So we were at some point an embryo undifferentiated, like a blastema cell, and then we differentiated. But the differentiation within the same environment is transmogrification. So if we were to go to another environment, and Mr. Cash has assured us that if we were to go to the moon, we would not look the way we look now, because the relationship between the Earth space and the soul of the man is different than the relationship between the moon space and the soul of the man. And it's quite a radical change, because the difference between the moon and the Earth is that the moon is a satellite of the Earth, whereas the Earth is a satellite of the sun. So there are different field forces coming into play, and these affect things. We will become eventually more skillful at determining the differences.
Right, because they're just not static in the universe. They're traveling near black holes, or they're traveling to different galaxies, perhaps, or different parts of the unicos. But again, I don't know if they're maintaining their structure or their structure is changing based on the conditions they fly into. I would think the structure stays the same, and before they left the planet, and that's one of Mr. Kesh's projects, is to get civilizations out into space. So they might have been, this technology to keep their actual structure might have been shared with them before they took the sort of journeys, in a way like gypsies, he said.
Well, an interesting question, yes, and we're asking more questions than we're answering. So one of the things, of course, is that if a bloodworm comes to this planet, they don't want to associate with humans. They want to associate with mosquitoes. So they can, despite the fact that they came as bloodworms, they want to differentiate into mosquitoes. If we go to another planet, and let's say we transmute and arrive as a human, and everyone there is walking around, with I don't know, 6 legs and 2 heads, for argument's sake, we would be freaks. So I think we'd want to differentiate into the type of community that we're going into. The point is if we transmute, say, between Europe and China, would we want to arrive as a European, or would we want to arrive as Chinese? There are physical differences. So, or if we go to Africa, where the skin color is totally different, would we want to do that? But I don't have the answers to this, except to say that these kind of changes are possible. So what I'm striving for is, what is the defining criteria for doing that? And not only do we have a reference from our point of view and from the environment's point of view, but within our space, we have an inner space, which we call the soul of the man, and an inner space, which we call the soul of the body. And so it is the relationship of all of these field forces which determine the physicality. This is the point. And so if we go to another planet, so we have the soul of the planet body, and we have a soul of the body. There's another factor still missing. And in some ways we could say, well, is that our relationship with outer space? Or is it a lack of understanding on our part? And so I think what we've exposed is the lack of understanding on our part. We haven't identified outer space yet. So we have 2 very, very large questions. And that's one of the reasons we're going to have a lot of new answers coming up as we go through the transmutation testing in Linz. But in the meantime, we have an existential crisis on this planet. And when I say on this planet, it's not to say that we don't affect the universal community, because ultimately we are also part of that universal community. So the responsibility that we see in our own little tiny perfect world actually extends into the universal community. And is that what we're talking about when we talk about outer space? So that's one of the reasons I've pursued this journey. What we need to differentiate is between the physical reality and the plasma reality. And so when we look at something, we don't have to go through all the gymnastics to figure out, the mental gymnastics rather, to figure out, is it physical or is it plasmatic? We need to recognize those right off the bat. So if we are doing flight simulation, then right off the bat, that is not physical, that is soul bound. And then if we are doing transmutation, that may or may not involve the physicality. So these are the skills that we really have to learn. And all I'm doing is identifying mileposts along the way on our road to knowledge, and making sure that we understand the difference between what we are and where we're going. And do we have to depend exclusively on our physicality? So I think clearly the answer is we weren't born with a rocket. So why do we want to go into outer space with a rocket? And it makes no sense whatsoever. So we got to start making sense. And the universal community is scratching their heads the same way. I just don't know if they're using wings or claws to scratch your head with, but that's another subject.
Okay, anyone else? I saw there was someone who joined us man, but it may be somebody we know, but they just dropped out. Anyone else have a question they'd like to pose for all those willing to answer? Anna?
Yeah. Hi. Hello, Mark. Hello, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to bring this. And I don't have a question. I really have an ask for support. I am a pediatrician, and I am firsthand dealing with the tremendous impact of, mental and spiritual unrest in young people here in the city of New York.
We understand.
And specifically, this is a patient of mine who also happens to be my nephew. And then he's been dealing with mental issues for a long time. He's 24, deals with anxiety, depression, multiple, psychiatric hospitalizations. And he has the goodness on his heart to say when he's not safe, when there is this desire to give up, to lose hope, to not continue to be in such unrest, as he call it. Like, I could not find rest on my soul. How am I going to deal with that? I'm losing hope. I want to go. And of course, he takes his medications, and he has, the professionals, psychiatrists. He happens to be now taking a vacation with his father, and he has expressed that clearly. And most of all, he wants hope. He's holding to a little hope for him to find a transformation that gives him some peace. I'm bringing this to you and to the community to see what can be offered to him in terms of other modalities that are not available to, the current protocols that we use to bring peace to young people dealing with these kind of conditions.
Well, I'm not a doctor like you are, so I can't really make any medical, although one thing that comes to my mind, obviously, is the ability of the zinc GANs to elevate the emotions. So that may be an avenue of pursuit for you.
Yes, I'm learning to do that, and involve. I wonder if one of these units in LINS could offer patients, with all kinds of these type of situations, PTSD, anxiety, if they could find some alignment energetically that could be an addition, in addition to the, traditional modalities of treatment, if they could add on to these new technologies. The family is certainly, open to bring new possibilities for him and for his life. He's 24. He wants to, have a family. He wants to complete college. He wants to live. He wants to live.
Right. I know Mr. Kesh said in the last workshop that we refer you to the doctors of, I guess, that are working with the Kesh Foundation. So it may be something you'd like to contact them with.
Yes, I pretty much appreciate the contact information.
Yes, again, we're not doctors, and we don't pretend to be or offer any sort of medical solutions. we're technology providers.
I got that, and I appreciate, what you put on the plate in terms of technologies and understanding for the doctors and for us to, bring a new level of healing and comfort to our patients. So I'm pretty much open to have that contact with my colleagues, and I'll certainly reach out to them on behalf of my patients.
Yes, and I'll just go before you for a moment, Alex. And we heard again of the doctor that's going to write down how he helped himself with the cancer condition. And apparently this is a world famous doctor. When he's ready, he's going to put something together. And perhaps, I don't know if he's in your area. He said he was one of the leading countries, whether that's the United States or China or another place. But he's willing to share what helped him to balance or to process his condition. And that may give some hope to the family that there are more solutions than the ones they've already tried. Again, advanced space technology. Go ahead, Alex.
Thank you. Well, one of the reasons we talk in generalities here is as Mark has just outlined, and of course, within your profession, you have restrictions as well. But the generality is that we all have maladies. And the thing about these maladies is that they're all caused by the same thing, and that's a deficiency on this planet. So we have two problems. One is we have to deal with these maladies. And two, generally speaking, we don't have a solution for these maladies. So as the KAKT Foundation, what we would like to say is that we have the capability to offer hope. And we can't be specific because each case is different. But generally speaking, the case that you've described for your nephew is a very important point. But if you're in a war zone and you're 11 years old and you don't have parents and you need to protect your community, you will do whatever it takes or perish. And this is the dilemma we have right around the world. So it's not to diminish the problem. It's to say that all of us have these problems and we all have them collectively, and it has to do with the way our society is structured. And can we continue? So one of the main discussions that we're having is how do we do this? And if we see that, our society is having trouble coming up with a solution, then you, as the last man standing, have an inalienable right to come up with that solution. And so the question is, why is the doctor who was treating himself able to make a testimonial? And that is because you are allowed to speak about your own case. You're not allowed to speak about someone else's case. So that's the current situation. And so we can't really comment on your nephew's condition, but what we can say to you is, in the absence of a solution, things are hopeless. But the KAKT Foundation is providing a solution. And so that's hopefulness. Not adopting the solution is not hopelessness, it's ignorance. So we have a solution and we need to implement it. And that is our moral responsibility as shareholders of this planet. And so whatever you learn and are capable of doing within your own space, you are contributing to the whole of humanity, because we are all interconnected, and that's the message.
Yes, we may not be offering any physical solutions, but we know we can work through the soul. So let's take 1 minute. We don't need the name of the young man or his location because it's already known to the souls. Let us take 1 minute of time collectively and elevate the souls of the person that Anna is requesting for. Again, we don't need the name or the location, as the souls are fully aware of where he is and what his name is. So let's take 1 minute right now and see if we can collectively elevate the soul of this young man and many others, but specifically this young man. Thank you all for participating. Anyone else have a question they'd like to bring forward here? I know Mr. Kesh said the teachings will never end as long as man is in existence, but he seemed to indicate that many on this planet will become enlightened and be able to replicate the technology, Alex, or copy the technology successfully. Maybe the teachings won't ever end, but what are your feelings on this? Just in this stage, we'll be able to do it, and then when we go to the next step, we'll continue with more teachings, or how is your interpretation of that?
We're going through a technological change, and as such, it causes a lot of upheaval. The initial desire, of course, is to do it gracefully, and we are continually trying to do it very gracefully and in the face of mounting opposition. So that part is going to take time, but in some cases that time is a luxury. And so now we have to navigate somehow through this storm. And if you're asking my opinion, then I think that we have a crisis on our doorstep, and it's worldwide. And I think that recognizing that we have a crisis is the first step towards correcting that situation. And since all of us are the last man standing, then we all have to make these choices. And sometimes we want to delay these choices. And again, if we have that luxury, okay, well, that's fine. But if we don't have that luxury, then we have to figure out what we're going to do. So in the meantime, we are building the peace dome, because the peace dome is going to contribute. And so we find that every contribution is one less part of the problem and one more part of the solution. And so this becomes the essence of growing and maturing and bringing towards peace. Because it's not just necessary on this planet. We are not the only ones who are wishing this. The universal community is with us. So this phantom force that is helping us along is also having a very selfish interest. And having a selfish interest is very important, but not at the expense of others.
Maybe we'll have etiquette classes on how to interact properly with the universal community. I'm sure our soul probably already knows, but there may be little things like, who knows, not eating in front of them perhaps, or something else. Just a way that they feel more comfortable. I mean, we're going to look at them, even though it may be odd shapes and sizes and colors and forms and so on, we still want to look at them as brothers and sisters, I would imagine. So maybe we'll have some tips on the way to interact with the universal community.
Sure, this is an important point because let's face it, when we're looking at, shall we say, the problems on this planet, if we were going to apportion the percentage that is attributed to man, would I be fair in saying it's 99% of the problem?
Did you say we're 99% of the problem?
Yeah, we're 99% of the problem. We can all leave planet Earth and Earth would be quite happy. The vertical people don't need us to thrive.
No, but the soul of the planet is still in much distress, as I understand it. This soul is not as elevated as it could be, let's say.
Well, we're part of that situation.
Right. So by leaving, that doesn't actually work as far as elevation of the soul of the planet to bring about a peaceful condition here.
I'm just saying that's one of the solutions.
Okay.
It's not the best solution because let's face it, we're in heaven. This planet, I mean, when you compare this planet to other planets within the solar system, we're in heaven. Are there other planets that are even more attractive? Well, I can't personally tell you, but there's no reason to believe that that would be true. The point is that we are here now for a reason. We didn't just come here because of the call of the wild. We came here for a calling. And so that becomes an important point when we discuss hopefulness and depression. We have to understand that there's a reason for us to be here. We didn't just come by happenstance. We weren't just passing through the universe as, oh, well, there's Jupiter. Oh, no, I don't want to go to Jupiter. Oh, well, there's Mars. Hey, you know what? Earth is just around the corner. Let's go there instead. There is no instead. This was a destination point. You know, you can't get on a plane and say fly to Paris and say, oh, you know, we're over England. Can we just land down in London? No, your ticket is going to Paris. You have to, you know, that's the destination. So this is the way we've got to look at, you know, why we came here. And to go through life without knowing why we came here is really the cause of our depression. And it's totally understandable why a lot of people are depressed, because if you're navigating without a purpose, you know, it's just like being in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and where are you going? Are you going to North America? Or are you going to Europe? Are you going to Africa? oh, well, you know, the wind's blowing left and then the wind's blowing right, and we'll just keep, you know, bobbing in the middle of the ocean. Well, that's a depressing thought. And so most of us are having that opinion of our physical presence. And we have to understand that our physical presence is a manifestation of at least two other fields, and it's beyond ourselves, right?
Then why do we think like a limited human?
Well, you've identified the problem. And now we're looking for a solution. Don't dwell on the problem.
Okay, I'm gonna make another problem now. I'm gonna tell you a story, not a story, real story. Few months ago, I took my little daughter to the school and then came back, and then I'm laying down in the bed. I'm moving my finger of my feet. So my eyes was closed, and then suddenly my attention was in my third eye, but my eye was closed. So suddenly I saw a fall. The water is dropping from the upper part to lower part, and there is a lot of rocks laying down in the water, like water 2-3 inch high. So maybe I'm sitting on the stone, small stone. I'm looking at the water, and my eye range was like 1 feet area, maybe 1 feet by 1 feet. I'm looking something, and I'm looking like a different funny way, not like a human. It's like a lizard. If lizard looks something like his head is this way, that way, different angle. So I'm looking that and I'm laughing and thinking who I am right now. Did you understand what I'm saying? Maybe I was in the lizard body that time. So if we think human way, limited way, our problem will be more. Let's start to think different way, broader way. Our soul could be anything, whatever we want to be.
So I agree with you, except that, you know, on this planet, the higher strength eats the weaker strength. And when you look at, say, mosquitoes, for instance, we're talking about bloodworms and mosquitoes. So mosquitoes, they like to land on humans and suck the blood. So, you know, what will be really a nice thing is that once we achieve peace on this planet, then we won't have to worry about the mosquitoes biting us either. So a lot of things are going to be realigned as a result of that. And so all of this comes from the energy fields of the source, because in the process of coming to our physicality, we're coming to a lower energy state. But that lower energy state is coming below the threshold level of what we need for sustainability. And that's one of the reasons that we've adopted this eating cycle. So if we can maintain our threshold that is necessary for sustainability and become more like a catalytic converter, like the sun, where we give and take energy, we have to understand that we have to give and take energy because energy is always in motion. And so we can't store that energy. You know, we can't just put it in a memory bank and store it for future consumption. When you become catalytic, you're not a consumer, and you're not consumed either. So you're a provider, and that's what we are. We are universal providers, and the universal community is already part of that process, but not exclusively. So in other words, the problem that we have on this planet is not exclusive to us on this planet. The thing is that the universe is operating under a different set of rules. And so that involves morality and compassion. And we need to practice morality and compassion, not just talk about it. And why I'm saying that is very specifically, we are looking at the plasma science as a kind of a remedy for many of our physical ailments. Well, we have to look at the plasma science as a way of life. This is a totally different attitude. And we have to find that, I'm sorry, some of us are going to lose our jobs. I'm sure all of us have lost a job at some point in time. So we know how traumatic that is, but then we find new jobs. And this is the key with the plasma science. We're not just going to lose jobs. We will find probably an order of magnitude more jobs and more opportunities. Not only are we talking about peace, but we are talking about prosperity. And that prosperity is not necessarily manifest into money, because money, as we know it on this planet, is a man-made construct. But prosperity, as the universe provides, the universe provides all the energy that you need when you need it in a timely fashion. And when we enlist the services of the universe, that helps our physicality. And so many of us are misguided in understanding that our physicality controls the universe. No, the physicality is a byproduct of other field references. And the thing is, it's beyond us. So it's our field plus our environment field. And if we understand that, then we have the opportunity to change our environment. And so that could be in our community, so we can go from one city to another. It could be on our planet, so we can go from one continent to another, or we can be interplanetary, to go from one planet to another. And we cannot do this physically. We need to do this the way we were born. And to go through life without knowing why we were born is really a sin. You spend all this time on this earth and you don't even know why you came here. And you don't know what you're doing, and you don't know where you're going. We now have explanations. And those explanations are very deep. It's not something that you can just, come and sit down for a meeting for 5 or 10 minutes and figure it out. Even yesterday, I had a conversation, and, the lady told me, that she was very spiritual, and that she's always known that there is a reason for her to be here, but she doesn't know why. But what she did know was that she was feeling a discomfort. And that discomfort had to do when she was engaging other people who were totally oblivious to the fact that they don't have that answer. And so what has happened in the last several years has been more and more people are having this feeling. And why is that? Well, because more and more people are enhancing the field strength of this planet. And the fastest way to do this is with the plasma, because each energy level is one order of magnitude. And so if we go to the nano, that's 1. If we go to the GANS, that's 2. And if we go to the soul, that's 3. 10 times 10 times 10, that's 1,000 times more efficient. And those are not the only levels. So we haven't even really done the math. So when we create our cups of life, and we've been looking at maybe creating 5 cups, but when we look at the space enhancement units and we understand, there's over 400 cups in there. That's a lot more cups. And so we have a lot more to learn. But all we have to know is that the universe is a benevolent place. And we are part of it.
Yes, go
Yes.
ahead, Anna. And then we'll
Okay.
address Selena. I had
Yes.
something to say there.
No,
but
I'm
you're-
done. I'm done. Thank you.
I thank you for the generosity of allowing me to share this with you. This is completely different. And as I hear you, Mr. Mark, talking about, the manifestation of other beings, or, these energies that we're talking about, I want to ask permission to share with the wisdom of this group. One of many or few things that had happened to me, or that I have been having, I say I could capture even in images. And I say them because they're not ordinary. They look extraordinary. And I don't have a clear understanding of the meaning. Not that I need to understand, it's not coming because I must or need understand. But I think perhaps if I share some of these images with you, more information can be offered to me. And one of them is a photo that I take. I was in my family, in the yard, in the patio, taking family photos, and there was a professional photographer, and I took a photo of my family member. And what I saw in the photo, we were having the 4th of July, we're having a gathering. I said, oh, I didn't think anything of it, but I noticed something. And then after that, I took few pictures, and the image came specifically behind my sister. She was sitting on the chair, and I have it with me because I don't know, I like to share that one if it's possible. And, if there is time, and another 2 more in my house, like images of a round image with light, another one with a rainbow of light that, I ran and pick up my phone. And by the time I could capture the image. One of them was already almost fading, but it was a round, beautiful image in a place on my house that is dark because I know my house, I've been here. And the other one was very recent. It's like a rainbow of colors just by the entrance of my house. And I feel compelled to take pictures, but I want to bring it to the wisdom of this group. If allowed, and if not, it's completely okay. I totally understand it.
This is not a picture of a child, correct?
No, it's none of my
Adult.
patients.
Okay.
No, it's not. It's my sister. It's a family. And the other ones, they're not humans. They're images of light that I don't know. Perhaps,
Sure.
I share this with friends.
Sure, this
I
is
could
what we're
send it
going to
to
be.
you.
Mhm.
So if you want to send it to you by WhatsApp, and then you decide what you want to share.
Well, I
The
don't
one
have
human that
WhatsApp.
is, oh, okay. The one that is a human is my sister, but I could even show it here, and I have permission from them because I show it to her. And the photographer that was taking pictures of her, for the purpose of professional family pictures, he didn't capture that image, but I did. And I have it.
I don't think we have a problem sharing, do we, Alex? It's not any pictures of children, but it's an adult.
No. And it's okay. I'm going to start. Let me show you the most recent one,
Sure.
and just briefly.
Alex,
There's no problem, Mark. Just make sure that you have a background picture ready. And
Should I open just the video here?
Do you want me to stop sharing?
Yeah, why don't you stop sharing, Alex, and let her share the screen as long as you have your picture up.
I have it here. I could just show it to you. Let's see.
Okay.
Yeah, but you have to share the screen.
If we're all
Oh,
going to
okay.
see it, we have to share the screen, and then you need to click the two little
Yes.
buttons on the bottom.
Okay. I think I am.
I don't know why.
Okay. Two
Okay,
little
here we are.
buttons.
No.
And what do I do next?
Okay. Stop sharing, and then we'll start it again.
Okay. Mhm.
Okay, so you're going to share the screen.
Mhm.
Your picture is already up, and then whatever you see a bunch of boxes with different pictures on there, you want to click on that box with and sort of highlight it with that
Okay.
picture.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I understand. Can
Yeah.
I put it on my phone like that or not?
Yeah, many people share with their phone. It's not a problem.
Yeah, like I have a video. Okay, let me just put it on. Oh, wait, I'm not able to share the video. Stop video. Wow, I'm sharing my video and okay, I'm gonna
You
start.
have to highlight that square around your video and then press in the bottom right-hand corner, share, the green button, share. But before you do that, there's two little buttons on the bottom left that says optimize for sound and optimize for video. They need to be checked.
Let me, yeah, before I get that, I'm having this with my computer. I'm pressing on, you know, like for my camera to my video to go on. And you guys could not see me, will you now? No. Just like the simple, you know, when you participate with videos. So I don't know, I'm having this in my computer.
Yeah, if you pull up a picture that you
How do
want to
I have it
share,
here on my cell. I have it on my cell. I want to show it, but it's, you know, my
right, you have to pull up the picture first, and then you have to press share screen.
What do you mean when you said pull up the picture, Mark?
Well, it has to be on your phone. I mean, I've never shared from my phone, but normally whatever you do want to share has to be brought up.
I do. I have it right here. You have the picture right in front of me.
It's right on your phone. So now you would press share the screen.
I did. I already pressed it.
Okay, now you need to highlight that picture that you want to share. So you want to tap on the box that has the picture in it, and then hit share again.
But I have my phone and I have my computer. I'm a little bit not sure what.
I'm not sure either.
Okay, that's fine.
If you want to send me the picture in Telegram, I will try to bring it up, or the video.
Can I send it to you by your text message? Is that okay?
No.
If I share the pictures on by text
Yes,
message?
in Telegram.
In Telegram.
Oh, Telegram? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then to the group, Mark, or to you?
No, you can put it in the group. I don't see a problem with that.
Okay, I'm going to put
American Telegram.
Yes.
And then we can bring it up. While she's doing that, I was just wondering, Mr. Kesh answered a question. I don't know if Claudia asked it or someone else about, is empathy connected to the elevation of the soul? Empathy means putting yourself in another person's shoes or feeling the way you think they feel. Now, Selena said she had a dream about being a lizard on a rock. And I know Mr. Kesh said a while ago that we would be able to sort of experience being in the eye of a cat or a cow, just how man has treated these other beings. So, Selena, I was thinking maybe that is something. I don't know if any humans came into your dream, but he said
no, it's not dream. I was woke.
A daydream.
And not
you were
that.
awake, yes.
Yes, I have vision. Sometimes I see
We call it a
stuff.
daydream. Yeah.
It is more than daydream.
Okay.
I'm moving my feet, and then my attention was in my third eye, but my eye was closed. I do sometimes I lay down on the bed and move my feet. Is my habit. So I'm doing that, and suddenly I saw uh, a fall. The water is dropping from the hill, and under the fall there was small rocks. The water is staying there, and then so suddenly I felt I'm sitting on the rock, small rock, and I'm looking small place, like 1 feet by 1 feet. My attention was there, and I'm moving my head this way, that way. It, it, I'm not moving my head in the bed, but in that position, in that body. And then I thought, oh my God, where I am, who I am now. It was funny, and then I was laughing, and then I thought maybe that was a lizard. I'm looking at the lizard eye. The maybe my soul was inside the lizard that time. It's happened a lot of time, a lot of stuff I can feel that way. So that's why I tell we are maybe we thought ourselves is the limited way. We can be a lot of stuff together. I saw a lot of stuff like a lot of body, like different human body, animal body, inside animal body, and then in the cloud too, under the sea too. So that way, if I can, those things happen, but I can tell to anybody. Now I can tell in your show because we need to know this. It is happening. I know I'm not the only one. There is a lot of people can see and do stuff. So we have to know. Then we can extend our limitation. We can broad our thinking and do stuff. Now is the depressing time. Everything is so limited. We think we are the only poor person. What can I do? This and that. No, my thinking, my understanding, we are everything. So we need to find a way to extend our work and find a way to solve the problem. What is happening now? That's it.
Hello, Mark. Can I make a question for Serena?
Yes.
When you do this experience, do you feel all the senses of the human body, the audition, smell? Do you feel all the senses of human body?
Yes. Yes. I'm here. I'm here. My I can see another body too. Sometimes in animal body, sometimes in other human body, and I don't know those are real people or not, but I can see other body. Yes. And what is your exact question? Was this? Hello?
Go
Hello,
ahead.
repeat. I didn't understand.
Sorry, I misplaced my microphone. It's behind a couple of screens. I couldn't find it. But go ahead while I'm trying to get these pictures for Anna.
Yeah. What is your exact question? It is Anna?
No, I think that was Claudia, wasn't it?
Claudia?
Yes, yes, it's Claudia. Yes.
Yes. What is your exact question? Did I answer your question? Or
No, if you feel all the sense of human body, the audition, smell, if you feel all the five senses. Oh, great.
Yeah. That's why that is vision. That is more than daydream. That is more than dream. And I don't have another explanation. That is, yes, another extra sensation, another stuff. I think so. We are getting that thing. Everybody is having that position pretty soon. Somebody getting earlier, somebody getting maybe a little bit later, but we'll get everything. Everybody, each of us.
Agree. I'm just not able to navigate very well. Let me see what I brought up two of them. I can't seem to bring up the third one. But I'm still trying. I haven't given up. Let me share the screen here. Just a moment. Okay. And these are pictures from Anna. Now, perhaps, Anna, you'd like to open your microphone. Those are two of the three you sent me. I'm still trying to get
Yes.
to the next one. Go ahead and tell us what
Thank you, Mark.
you wanted to share. Yes.
So the first one, the round, light image, that's the entrance of my bathroom. It's a hallway. There is no windows there to, bring light. And I had just come from a trip where I did, spiritual retreat. And then when I saw the picture, the image, I ran to pick up my phone because I was impressed by the colors and the beauty. The colors were like in the image that he had not even able to put, very vivid, very, bright colors. But by the time I went to pick up my phone, that's what I got. I just could get that image. This is the one, the first one, the round image. So the other one is a picture of my sister. So we're having this family gathering and she came to visit and we want to do these family pictures. And I took pictures of her sitting in the chair. And I took few pictures and I noticed the light images and the shape of the images behind her. And I look, I said, but there is no, I thought it was an airplane or something. I said, there is no plane. This is my backyard fence. I've been here for many years. I never seen such. And to this day, I don't, they look to me like light, like wings of light. And sharing with my sister, later on, and not about the picture, but about she was dealing with the extenuating circumstances herself that day. She said, "Oh, I'm glad that I made it." And I captured this image. That's all I have to say.
Okay, there's one more, and I'm still trying to, for some reason, I can't seem to retrieve it, but we'll find it. I have it. I just can't seem to get it to come up.
You want me to resend it, Mark? Let's send it again.
No, that's not it. I have it here. This is the one with the colors on it.
Yeah.
I don't know why. 18. Okay, no, I don't have it. There's something I'm doing wrong here to find it. And let me just try. I need to move a few things out of the way. I'm going to try one more time.
There's an interesting thing that's happened with cell phones, is that they seem to have visions that normal cameras don't have. And I don't want to go into any technical explanation on that because I'm not qualified, but this seems to repeat itself. A lot of images are coming up on the cell phones that were previously unavailable. So what we do know is that if you can see it, that means it's a physical manifestation. It's a physical manifestation of the light, but as you can see, the image is incomplete.
Oh, okay. This is the last one. That was recently. It's by the entrance of the front entrance of my home. And the image was brief. I had my phone nearby, so I went and I took a picture. And I just want to add that the round image that I captured, the colors, when I ran, were this color. I just couldn't capture them. They were this bright, these beautiful colors as well.
To me, it almost looks like the sun is reflecting off something, but you're saying there's no windows or glass or mirrors to do that there.
No, you see the glass window next to it, this one, the glass. But really, why I wanted to go a little bit deeper in this is because I've been here for many years and I had never seen any reflection of the sun like that.
Right. So that's definitely
and that is very
something
brief.
different.
It's just like it's like brief event. It's just it lasts very briefly. They're all very briefly.
Oh, it didn't stay there for any amount of time, you're saying?
No, I have to run and
so
capture
you
them.
saw it first and then
Yes.
took the picture of it. It's not, Alex, that it came from another picture or through, she physically saw this image.
Oh, all of them, all of the three, the first one, the round shape that looks like a planet with a wing around it. It was the color, the third one, the round planet image. It had these colors, Mark. It lasts few seconds. By the time I run and pick up the phone, it already almost fade.
Well,
This one, I captured earlier, so it fades very fast.
Did you have any sense of other beings being there? Did you have that feeling or emotion that maybe someone else was there? I know, Mr. Kesh, that's what he said, that we'd have that.
Not on this picture, but I had the feelings of presences and very many lucid dreams of my life. Many, I have books of my dreams. But I have felt the presence of other beings, of course. But this phenomenon is only like, when you're giving a vision, an image that is going to put you in awe for a very brief period of time. That's what I felt. Like,
now, in your sister sitting in the chair, right? You said this is your sister?
That's my sister, yes.
What is the image you're seeming to capture? This on the fence?
Do you see this? Yes. What is this? And I have many pictures, and they are there in these.
And it didn't stay. You're saying it was only there for a moment?
Lasted, yes, very momentarily. That is correct.
And were you able to see them with your naked eye?
Yes, that's what she's saying.
Oh, the first image, this one, the colorful, yes, with my naked eye, because I ran to pick up the phone. The other one, the round one, I first saw it with my naked eye, and then this one, I saw it with my naked eye, and I also captured on the cell phone because I was taking a picture of my sister. I thought that it was an airplane or something. I said, but I don't see anything. I look up and said, oh, what is this? But we were in a family gathering. I really continue my day like it was, but I captured it. Yes, I saw it.
And then after you took the picture, the image disappeared.
Yeah, they're very brief. They don't last a long time, Mark. They're very brief.
Interesting. Well, I
Very
think the main is you're the main sensor. So depending on what you felt, not so much your physicality seeing images, but if you felt the presence of an entity or a being, he said we would
Oh.
feel that.
Many times I have felt it, many times. And I mean, since I was young.
That someone else was in the room, or you feel another presence is there.
I could, since I was very young, my experience, like, mostly through my vivid dreams, where I could really have a, how would I say, a dream within a dream, and I could play with beings from other dimensions ever since I was very young. And can I share this with you? Like, see, like, I have many dreams, but let's say.
Yeah, Selena shares her dreams quite frequently with us. There's no problem there, I don't think.
Okay,
Alex?
so.
No problem listening intently.
Yes, it's very nice to hear these. I think we're going to hear a lot more of them as well.
So ever since I was young, I had vivid dreams, and that kind of heightened sense of, I don't know why, because my background is Hispanic, working people, believers, good people. But I had, when I was in medical school many years ago, I had a dream. My bed was I was in front of the window, and I dreamed that I was picked up in a very nice, flying vehicle. And I went to play with these little creatures. They're very, they look like toddlers, very joyful, full of life, aliveness. They're playful. So they picked me up and we went to play. So I spent the whole day playing on a field of many flowers, beautiful gardens. We jumped like kids. We just play. In my dream, we played for hours. The whole day we were playing. There was love, there was aliveness, there was joy. They were friendly. It's like a friend comes to pick you up and give you a fun day out where they know you're going to have a lot of fun. So that's what I did. So I had to get up very early because I was in medical school. So I got up at my usual time, about 5 o'clock in the morning. And when I was coming back from where I was into my body, that I opened my eyes, I almost see them. I knew that they were there. There is, how do I know? I don't know. I know that they just have left. I almost captured them, just leaving me. So I kept that I went on with my life. Of course, I didn't particularly like to, I didn't even write my dreams then. So
yeah,
I went on with my life, and then fast forward, after I became a physician, I don't know how many years forward, I'm here in the United States, and I'm listening to I was taking a break from studying for my board. So let me watch this TV show. So there was a TV show where a woman was saying that she had sex with a extraterrestrial being. And I got, I said, okay, I got curious. I said, let me just spend a few minutes. I need to unwind. And then I said, oh my God, how many stories? So, and then I was listening intentionally, not judging, just listening to one. And then the anchor of the show asked her, do you have a picture of the man or the being that you have sex with? Well, she showed a picture of the face of that extraterrestrial being, or that being that she claimed she had sex with. When I saw the face that she showed on the TV show, my heart almost came out of my chest, because I went back 20 years, or who knows how many, I didn't even remember ago, to those visitors that I had played with, many of them. And I knew then that they're a sister, because I share with them. So I had that kind of experiences, and among many others. And now recently, after I started making the gowns, what happens to me is that I am dreaming, and I have had lucid dreams, and I have a dreamers and I dreams. So I know what that is, but now this is new to me. before I wake up on my physicality, I wake up in the place that my soul goes when I dream. I get 2 wake ups. And immediately I get the second wake up.
Well, I
Yeah.
wasn't there, but I'm not doubting you whatsoever. As Mr. Kesh said, when people go in the unit and you're the captain of, he said, we believe what you're telling us and sharing with us. So I'm in no doubt you're not trying to deceive or perpetrate a fraud here. This is just
No.
explaining what you've experienced.
Absolutely. And as I said, I don't even need an explanation. It's not something that I need to, I don't need an explanation because I lived that. It's
Sure.
part of my living. I share these images with you because to me, you are enlightened beings. And it's my pleasure and my honor, and I humbly want to share them with you. I thought, especially for my sister, that those were angel wings, guarding her and supporting her. And they just allow me to capture it because the photographer didn't capture it. He was the one taking these professional pictures. And
Yes,
that's all I can say.
I was going to ask you, you said that you were playing with the children, but then I said, did you tell your parents about it? But then you said you were studying for your medical board. So I said, oh, she wasn't a child when all this
No, when I
happened.
had
You
the
were much
dream,
older.
yeah, no, when I had the dream, I was in medical school. I was about 17 or something. So, and when I saw the picture show of the woman that presented a picture of the being that she said she had sex with, I knew that she was in line because I played with them. I don't know, I came to this country in 1991 and I started medical school in 1978. So see how many years has passed. But that dream is vivid, is alive on me. It had not erased or faded from my memory. So when I look at the picture that the woman presented, a sketch that was made of the extraterrestrial being that she said she had sex with it, I said, oh my God, America is like a lot of things you see there. I was recently coming to this country, but when I saw the picture, I went right back from 1978, who knows how many years. I was
Instantly.
17 when I
Yeah.
had that dream.
Mhm.
And I said, no, these are the same beings. That's it. That's all I could say.
Very nice. I mean, Alex, would you like to make any comments? I'm not here to judge, but it sounds fantastic to me.
No. This is a personal experience. And what it does is it demonstrates to the individual that there are more things to consider than what we give of in the physical realm. And so this is what we're trying to teach in the plasma science, is that the field forces are manifesting. And the word manifestation is any kind of combination of these field forces. And so there can be a plasmatic manifestation and the physical manifestation, but in all cases, there's a plasmatic manifestation. In some cases, there's a physical manifestation. And then in other ways and means, it depends on the individual. It is a skill that we each of us cultivate, and that is the purpose on our life here, is to learn how to cultivate these skills so that we can be better functionaries with respect to the universe, because we certainly didn't come here for the express purpose to lie, cheat, and steal. And if we did, we will find that when we go back into the universal community that we will be extremely lonely. So I think the reason that everybody is here at this meeting, and I'm assuming, but the thing is that this is a gathering for the beneficence of the universal community and of the earth space community, and to recognize that there are beings in both dimensions. And so we are now at the point where we can realize the advanced technology that would allow us to participate with the universal community. And the universal community equally wants to participate with us. But it's not a matter of shyness. It's a matter of field strength. And when we're working in a lower field energy, then we are depleting the energy of others. So as the others are feeding, they are also depleting, except for the fact that if you become a universal member where you can be catalytic and you can give the energy and take the energy from the universe simultaneously, then you maintain your MAGRAF position, which is a balanced condition. And in a balanced condition, it is transparent. So it's when we come into a physical state that we manifest into the visibility. But there seems to be a deficiency, which is represented by the story of Mitra. And as a North American, this is foreign to me. And but it doesn't diminish the relevance of it, because we all have experiences in our life which are unexplainable until we take into account that it's unexplainable if we look at it exclusively from the physical reality. When we take into account the plasmatic reality, well, all of a sudden it becomes explainable. And what is why I have gone on this particular journey of discussing the relationship between earth space, inner space, and outer space is because we have this belief and this desire to go into outer space, but we keep taking rockets with us. That's not the way we were born. So something is, when you talk about an anomaly, that is an anomaly. And we are supposedly intelligent beings, but we defer intelligence to the community from outer space. But that's where the problem comes in. We are intelligent and we do have the capability. And so we have a responsibility. We didn't just come in for an amusement ride. And so as we incorporate this with our belief system, and then we understand that these experiences are day-to-day experiences to teach us how things work, and the benefits that we have with respect to our health, these are releases of packets of energy that are part of the learning experience. They are also part of the healing experience. So as we heal, we can become better providers, and we can be better universal community members.
Right, and Mr. Kesh did say, we're preparing you for encounters with the universal community. There's no question about it. So these might be little hints, or Anna may have been interacting with them on a sort of an arm's length distance or something along that line. She may be already prepared in a way.
If I may add just one more thing, Mark, to that, is that Anna is in a wonderful position because of her career choice and because of her residence point. Two things, right? Her career choice, her environment. And now when you add the awareness to that, we were talking about a recipe for success. And if you realize how important that knowledge is for you, then you will actually have peace within yourself. And then you'll be able to do more for others. And as you do more for others, you will find that you will benefit along the way. It's an automatic thing. So this is why I'm saying it's not a remedial thing. It's a way of life. And this is what we're all striving for.
Right, and imagine those colors on the wall were the entity itself. And this is the actual manifestation of a universal being in one shape or form. There's probably billions of different shapes and forms, but maybe that's how that particular entity manifests itself. Only briefly, but enough time to take a picture. Go ahead, please.
Mark, I always felt presence, always, my whole life.
Were you always looking over your shoulder or looking
Yeah,
around the room to see if you physically saw something?
yeah, I felt a lot of time. Physical thing happened too. I'm making tea, and then I put the teaspoon in my cup, and suddenly the spoon moved. It's happened a lot of time, and then it ran upstairs. And always, my whole life, I felt, yeah.
As Mr. Kesh said, this planet has always been part of the universal community, okay?
Right, yeah, I'm saying that,
Yeah.
I think everybody is here. Yeah.
And as we know, there are many here, a 1/3 perhaps, who just are hiding in the clothes of a man, and how many more haven't actually taken on any physicality and could be just here as observers, yet they're still able to manipulate things, perhaps.
Maybe.
Oh, I don't even think we've begun to see the possibilities that we will see in the near future.
Mark, I just want to thank everybody for allowing me to present today and for participating in this wonderful meeting. I'm really gratified with your presence, and we are moving towards, all of us, to make this a better planet. And there's no better time to do this than, was it last week or the week before? No, now. We need to do it now. Thank you all. Hope to see you next week. I was just going to sign off at this point, and thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.